Okay. All right. I would like to bring our general committee meeting to order for May 9th, 2023. And I would like to do a roll call. I am the chairman, Lee Peterson, alderman from Ward 2. And also on the committee is Vice Chairman Jim Waters, alderman from Ward 6. And absent tonight is Ward 3 Alderman Bob Garza. And we do have a special guest, a consultant with us tonight later on the agenda. But I would like to just go around the room if I can and let everyone introduce themselves. We do have a full house. I'll start with Director Gilly.
Andy Gilly, Parks Director.
Sarah Locke, Public Works Director.
Mayor Jamie Clary. Grant Green, Senior Planner.
Oh, Karen Dixon, Alderman, Ward 4.
Jesse Eckenroth, Chief of Operations. Jason Gallo, Administrative Services Director.
Cliff Sandsworth with the JDR HR Group.
Chief Bush.
Scotty Bush, Hendersonville Fire.
Casey Lamar, Public Information Officer.
Mark White, Hendersonville Fire.
Gabe Hanna, Hendersonville Fire.
I would like to welcome everyone to the meeting. I thought everyone was here to see me and Vice Mayor, but I think there's some items on the agenda that they would like to hear about. And so what I'd like to do is go ahead and accept the agenda that is presented before us.
So moved.
We have a proper motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And I would also like to look at last month's minutes. Vice Mayor, did you have a chance to review those
Yes, I
from
did.
April 11th?
Yes, I do.
I did as well. Would you like to approve those?
I approve it. Thank you.
All right. And I second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right. We've approved minutes from last month. And let's move on down the agenda to ordinances and resolutions. Our first resolution is 2023-19, a resolution amending the job classification list and pay table. And we have, Mayor Clary is sponsoring that, but Mayor, did you want to speak on that, or would you like Jason to have the floor?
Jason could explain it, and Jesse can explain it much better than I can.
Okay, that's perfect. Okay. Jason, would you like to let us know about this resolution? And I think it stems because don't we have a municipal code that says we have to address this every 5 years?
So that's the pay study. That's the second part of our agenda tonight.
I got that.
This is taking where we need to add new job codes and new positions to our classification table. So that's what this is addressing. So both in Parks and Public Works, as they've had turnover in those areas, we've had both departments heads have taken a moment to look at their structure. And so in Public Works specifically, Ms. Locke is taking some of her current vacancies and shifting around the job duties, responsibilities to make it more efficient. We're also looking at that as a way to better serve our citizens. So some of the different positions that we're looking at is taking what was the ADA coordinator and transforming that into a project manager. That will alleviate a lot, I know, for Ms. Locke and kind of what's on her plate right now. And so then this person would oversee those projects and look at some of the professional, sub-professional level engineering, project management work that's required right now. I think Ms. Locke and probably even Stephen is also doing some of that. So this takes some work off of their plate. It is upgrading it from grade 18 to grade 20. They're also looking at taking a vacancy as a public works coordinator that was a grade 16 and kind of re-envisioning what they need. What they're looking at is something that covers facilities. So then we're looking at a property maintenance manager. There used to be a position in years past that was a superintendent of property maintenance. That position has kind of gone away. Now we're bringing an iteration, if if you will, of that back. The other is taking 2 of the vacant equipment operator 1s and making a traffic signal technician. Now, what's being proposed in this is 3 different levels, a 1, 2, and a 3. And that is to give us flexibility in hiring. So maybe we find a great candidate, but they don't have all the skills to match as a 3. We don't want to be locked in and say, sorry, we can't hire the best person who might, be what they need. So this gives them the flexibility in hiring for that. With all 3 of those positions, the funds that are looking there actually is, at the end of the day, it looks to be almost budget neutral. So that was kind of the intent on this one when we're looking at the total funding and the fiscal impact. On the parks position, we ran into an issue during the recruitment for an equipment operator 3. And that job specifically requires a CDL. We were having a hard time recruiting applicants for a CDL. And so what this is doing, I will tell you, we ultimately hired someone, and Andy, correct me if I'm wrong, the person's working out great in what they're doing right now. But this just simply gives parks the flexibility to hire at a lower level, which ultimately would save money if they decided to do that down the road. If a person left again as an equipment operator 3, this may give us the flexibility to hire as equipment operator 2 without the CDL and give a candidate the time to obtain that.
Okay.
Public Works already has an equipment operator 1, 2, and 3. So all we're asking is to model what Public Works has with the parks. So rather than just only have the equipment operator 3, this gives them the opportunity to say 1 and 2 as well.
That makes sense. Well, I appreciate the time that you put into this. Combining some of these positions, eliminating others, and that there's no fiscal impact on the budget. So I appreciate everyone's time and effort that you put into this. Yes,
May I?
please.
Thank you. Make me some notes on your paperwork here.
Okay.
Public Works and Park, is that the only 2 departments that we're concerned about? What happened to the other HR, finance? Are they not in that position as these 2?
These are the only ones where we're adding new classifications to the table. So finance, HR, administrative services, IT,
Codes?
codes, those are ones that haven't brought up the need to add additional classifications. We're not adding new positions. These are just job titles and grades. Yes.
I was concerned about codes
Okay.
because since I deal with them a lot. I go on to say that the following changes in job classifications and pay grade level are we having problems keeping our employees that we have on staff now? Is salary a problem? I think is my question. It says with recent departure of existing employees and in light of recent recruitment efforts, that tells me we're having problems getting people to come to work for Hendersonville.
Yeah, so the ADA coordinator, the reason that we're considering this is because we had some recent vacancies, right? So the reason these job descriptions are before you is because when these vacancies came up, we said, hey, how can we do this job better? And how can we keep these employees in these positions? So with the ADA coordinator, that position, the person who filled that position took a higher paying job in Nashville. So, we said, okay, do we still need the same exact job duties as an ADA coordinator because we had got the board set up, we got the municipal code set up? What if we had a project manager that oversaw ADA and that we paid them a little bit higher range so that we could retain that employee? So Sarah kind of went through her department and said, hey, what are our needs today and how can we do a better job of retaining them and getting a position that's useful for the city? So yeah, there's higher paying jobs out there.
I think you answered my question because it must be the salary, the reason we're losing them. Is that right?
Yeah, that's part of it. And sometimes at a bigger organization, there's more opportunity as well. So I think there has been comments on several positions that salary was a key indicator, a key reason why they chose to go.
But I think we'll find out in the next segment here about salary. And looking at all the job food here that was sent in, was there any problems with any of them meeting the requirements? I mean, I went through all of them. You know what I mean?
No, we've rewritten those job descriptions.
I'm assuming they responded to this, didn't they?
No, we haven't posted those as openings yet.
Oh, you haven't posted them?
No, we wanted to make sure that BOMA would approve the changes,
Oh,
and then we would post the positions.
I got the cart before the horse, didn't I? Okay. All right. That's all I have on this item, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. I don't have anything further either, other than I appreciate you looking into this and seeing what positions can be combined. I think that trying to attract people with a higher salary as well as maybe combining positions is the way to go. And specifically that there's no impact on our current budget as well. So I think what I would like is a motion for us to recommend this moves to
Make a
BOMA.
motion to refer to BOMA without recommendation.
Okay, well, I will second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That passes unanimously to move that to BOMA. And that was resolution 2023-19, amending the job classification list and pay table. All right, well, let's move to the second item on our agenda. And that is to discuss the compensation and classification pay study. And Jason, did you want to lead that, or Jesse?
Jason can.
Okay. So as part of our municipal code, this is kind of what you were asking about before.
Okay.
Every 5 years, we are tasked with going out and doing a survey, a market survey on our wages, our salary tables. How do we bench to market? Historically, the city has engaged an outside consultant firm to do that. And so this year we had 2 bids for that. And the winning bid was JER HR Group. Mr. Sandsmark from the consultant group is here to kind of talk about that, talk about some of the results. And then in addition, Jesse had mentioned, I believe at prior meetings, that the HR team was also looking at the benefit information. So we did a survey of the same group and inquired about health insurance, sick leave, retirement. And so we began to kind of unpack all of that. So if you don't mind, I will let Cliff kind of we have a short presentation on his portion, and then I want to add in how the benefits layer on top of that.
Okay, that's good.
All right. Well, thank you, Jason. As you said, my name is Cliff. Excuse me. My throat's a little bit dry, so I'm just trying to get through this. My name is Cliff Sandsmark. I'm with the JERHR group out of the Fayetteville, Arkansas office. A little bit of background as to what we are. The original person who started our group was a professor at the University of Arkansas in Fayetteville. And over time, he started this in the mid '70s. So over time, he built this up. He built the consultancy. And then his 2 sons, who were actually identical twins, came and joined, one in 1980, one around 1990. And they grew the business. And they did a lot of work with municipalities throughout the state of Arkansas and surrounding states. So in 2022, the JERHR group, which is located in New York City, purchased them because they wanted to retire and sort of just ease back a little bit. So, and I came on with them about a year ago. I have 20 years comp experience with Fortune 500 companies. And I'm also an instructor at the University of Arkansas in Fayetteville. I'm sort of like in my own Bentonville office in Bentonville, Arkansas. So next slide, please. So I'm just going to do a brief review of the methodology we use to look at your pay and your compensation schedule and your job ratings. From there, we also pulled some external market, we did an external market pay study, and we're going to go ahead and talk about what the results were. So what we did, okay, next slide, please. Good. We took 111 job descriptions of yours, and we went through a job evaluation process, which is proprietary to the JERHR group. And we evaluated each job title with 15 compensable factors. And what this does, it develops what we call a job worth hierarchy, or sort of a job stacking. And then using some statistics of actual regression analysis, we'll develop what's called the policy pay line, which reflects the market value of your positions against your ranking, and be able to develop pay schedules from there that are market competitive. So some of the 15 factors that I was talking about, next slide, please. Here, all jobs contain these factors to some degree, and we took each of your 111 jobs, and ranked them and scored them. You can see there are 3 major categories: knowledge and skill requirements, responsibilities, and contacts. And each factor has several degrees to it. For example, experience and general experience, for example, number 1. Some jobs don't require their entry level. They only require maybe 0 to 6 months experience. Maybe they require 7 months to a year, or 1 or 2 years, 3 years. So of course, the more experience that the job requires, the more higher up it would be, the more important it may be, or maybe more advanced. So same thing with education. Maybe this requires a high school diploma or GED. It require a bachelor's, master's, etc. Now, each of these degrees or these factors has a point value to them. And some of them are weighed a little bit heavily. For example, like expertise in management is weighed a little bit heavier than general experience. So at the end of this, we'll take the total score, and then we'll take all the jobs that we scored and put basically with this total score, they sort of rank themselves. Think of it as a card sorting kind of program. They just go from low to high. From there, next slide, please. And we took your pay scale, and that became the y-axis of the horizontal axis. I'm sorry, your vertical axis, against your point value, which is the horizontal axis. So plotted them. So each one of those dots represents one of your jobs, their pay, and their scoring on the methodology. So if you look at this, you notice this is what's called the fairly neat pattern. If you look at the upper right-hand corner, there's that one dot all the way at the edge. That's your police chief, for example. Yeah, is he here?
No.
Okay. So, but you look at the line, and this is really a good line. What this tells me is that your comp program is fairly well managed. There's not a lot of variation. If it was really bad, all the dots would be like in a cloud type pattern. You couldn't really get a straight line through. But this shows you really did a good job over the years in administering your pay plan. So, good. So from there, we also collected data from several other municipalities that were similar to your own, as sort of peer organizations. So we had Franklin, Tennessee. The next two, the DOL BLS, is Department of Labor Bureau of Labor Statistics data. We included that because it sort of gives there's other positions, other municipalities in there, but it sort of gives us a little bit of a flavor for what jobs are paying in this particular area, because we know we took it down to Nashville Metro. The next one is Comp Analyst. It's a program that we use that's very robust in looking at pay data, and we were able to take the scopes down to, if you look at this, down to Hendersonville, Tennessee, for organizations that are 2 to 500 people. So we're able to narrow that down a little bit and get a representative sample what other jobs, what similar jobs are paying in the industry, whether for-profit or municipality. And then we also looked at state of Tennessee, Smyrna, Mount Juliet, Rutherford County, Wilson County, String Hill, Galatian, Goodsville, and Lebanon. So, and then the next column, you can see the variance with your pay versus the benchmark pay. So you can see Franklin, Tennessee is we're lower by about 15.9%, almost 16%. Spring Hill, Tennessee, we're about even with 0. And sometimes we're in the plus column for Galatian and Goodsville, for example. So these are some of the statistics we use to back up, what we recommend in terms of pay. So from there,
So when you look at the top and it's negative 15.9, that means that we're 15.9% below
correct,
that agency.
correct,
And
as a comparative.
right, okay. That means that like Franklin pays 15.9% more.
Yeah, correct. But, the job market comprised of several players. Some are going to be high, some are going to be low.
Sure.
And you sort of evaluate yourself individually, but you sort of look at yourself as in the whole market, and not only where you're at, but where you kind of want to be. Do you want to be at the 50 percentile? Do you want to be more aggressive?
Yeah, I just want to make sure everyone understands that when it says variance, that's we're pegging our position against them. So when it says plus 3.4%, Lebanon does not pay more. We pay 3.4% more than Lebanon would pay, and that's what that graph is showing.
Correct.
Now, for example, does Franklin pay pension?
So we'll get to that. That's where we kind of layer in the
Okay.
benefit portion.
It looks, like we're way behind, but I don't think that we had discussed pension, I think last month.
Franklin's a high payer, though.
Okay. Well, they're also 400 million in debt, but I digress.
Also, I'll go back to that slide. One more thing I want to point out. If you look at the bottom, right under the graph, it says overall market variance mean is negative 3.45%.
That's the arithmetic mean. Is that
Yes.
correct? Okay. So the arithmetic mean says that we're 3.45% below
On our general grade.
on our general grade,
Right.
which is absent some of the police and fire that we're going to show.
We'll get into that next. So we did also look at your fire and police departments. And here we did a little bit different methodology where we actually took the pay matrices of the organization. Because we found that when working with organizations that work with pay matrices are fairly consistent in their data. So because when they have if it's a step program and it's automatic annual increase, the pay matrices are fairly reliable in telling us what an organization is paying. So we took the high and the low and compared that together for our survey group, and we sort of gave an overall market average. And we looked at Hendersonville and looked at those variances. And this is for the police department. The total variance is 10.7%, negative.
So that's saying that police is paid 10.7% below the
compared to
market
the
average.
Correct. Now the next slide, this is unique, a one-time graph I did just for you guys. Because Jace is very special. Anyway, there's another graph in our packet that looks at comparisons against non-police and non-fire positions. But we decided to try this. This is actually a graph of the index pay matrices, the various municipalities that we looked at. What the value here is that you can see, like, for example, the top blue sawtooth, that's Franklin. You can see that kind of, it's sort of parallels in the beginning, but then when you get a little bit higher, it sort of just takes off. There's a couple that, like Mount Juliet, sort of just weaves its way through there, and Spring Hill is also kind of weaving their way through there. What that means, we don't know yet, because I want to refine this graph and use it for other organizations, but it was some people work better with, visual kind of aids rather than just looking at numbers. So sometimes pictures tell the whole story a lot faster. So the next one is,
That's fire.
fire. Okay. It's fire. I'm trying to get my pages unstuck here. It's fire. You can see the total variance is a lot better. We're actually up 1.89% compared to market. All right. And there's one more graph on top of that, you can see. And with Excel, I haven't really mastered how to get them all the same color from one graph to another. So it's a little bit of a struggle for that, but we're learning. But yeah, those are your fire. You kind of see the same thing. It's just right now, but this one's in red instead of blue as in the last slide. So it's interesting to see how everything just sort of clusters together and then it breaks out toward the high end.
Okay, so a lot of information to process just on that. What we want to do is take what they've given you and kind of make it more of a bite-sized and digestible piece. So what the HR team has done, you might go on to the next slide. For the comp study and for the benefit survey, we had 17 municipalities that we reached out to. On the comp study, only 10 responded. On the benefit survey, we had a better response. We had 14. And this is the list of those from Franklin to Gallatin, Goodlettsville. We go down the list. We got better responses from Sumner County, Sumner schools. Go ahead and go to the next slide here. So what we want to do is layer in your question, Mr. Peterson, about retirement and the pension plan. And what does that mean? So out of the ones that we surveyed, 11 of those are on a legacy, 3 of those are on a hybrid, and another 3 are not on either of those. So they're on a 401k or 457, but they're not on your traditional TCRS legacy or hybrid plans. Of those 14 that we have, 17 that we've got, 9 of those require a mandatory contribution percentage. So most were 5%. There was one that was 8%. So that means before the employees even have their take-home check, they're required to contribute 5% of their paycheck. So when we're looking at the salary data and going, okay, with Franklin, we're 15.9% behind market, but they require a 5% contribution right off the top. So let's go ahead and go to the next slide. One more. So how does it overlay? This is how it overlays. You take that 15.9 and let's start subtracting. What we did on the left-hand side, we have all the sources. Then we rank them based off of, who's kind of 1 through 11 here, including the city. So then that's the percent variance that Cliff was just showing you. Now let's take the required retirement contributions, 5%, 8%. Some are 0. Some don't require any. The city does not require that our employees contribute. So the city owns 100% of that contribution. So once we take out that, Franklin drops down from 15.9 to then 10.9, right? And you begin to see those numbers decrease. That also then changes the ranking because from a percentage standpoint, the employees aren't taking that 5% home with them or that 8% home. It has to go to the retirement plan. So what we're doing is we're saying, okay, how does that change our position within the market? Let's go ahead and go to the next slide here.
Was
Yep.
Nashville omitted because they didn't
They did
respond?
not respond.
Okay.
Yep. So they did not respond on the benefits or on the comp. What we tried to do on that prior slide is just show you the ones that responded both on the benefit survey and on the comp survey
Okay.
because we had data on both. So the question becomes, what's the city's competitive advantage? Like to the point that was asked, people, are people leaving for wages? What does the city offer beyond that? So we don't require our employees contribute anything. We own 100% of that. What that means is for every full-time employee, it's 14.38% in addition to their salary. So I will tell you the employer I came from was about 2% as a private employer. So that's a massive amount of money that the city is contributing. Separately, we offer 13 paid holidays. There was a study that was done in 2021 by MTSU, and they showed that the average employer in the area contributes 8 holidays. So we have 13. Now, I know government is a little bit different, and that's fine, but that is an advantage. We go anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks of vacation. This past year, we took one of our, what we called a focus day, and asked our employees to earn a focus day, which is 8 hours of vacation, volunteer in the community. So give back to the community, and we broadened it to say Sumner County. You know, we have employees who don't just live in Hendersonville. We're the only employer offering that, where we encourage our employees to give back to the community that they serve in. So there wasn't any other employer that was doing that we surveyed. We offer 12 sick days per year. We're only one of 4 that allow those sick days to be contributed to TCRS. So the employees, there's no cap on it. So the employees can take that and contribute that when they retire. They can put all that sick leave towards TCRS for additional service credit. And then we do have competitive health plans. That was one of the things that we looked at. We clearly were not the worst health plan, even though I know a lot of our employees lament. There were a lot worse out there in comparison that left those employees holding, you know, I would say tens of thousands of dollars in deductibles. So we're doing pretty good when it comes to our health plans. Let's go to the next slide here. So the question becomes, what are some options moving forward? Jesse pointed out on the general scale, it showed negative 3.45. So we could potentially adjust that salary scale.
For a point of clarification,
Mm-hmm.
the general scale, did it leave off those 2 tables that were pulled up as police and fire? So were those, I believe those were not included in the general
They were
scale.
not included in the general.
Okay, so the general scale is the positions less those tables of police and fire.
Correct.
We could consider market adjustments on individual positions or market adjustments on specific positions or departments. We could, as a strategy, you could eliminate. We have 18 steps in our grade. I think Jesse kind of shared that with BOMA at the last workshop. So we could eliminate one of those steps. Each step is 2.5%. It doesn't seem like a big change, but that means that we then begin hiring 2.5% higher. So that's an option. The other option is, I mentioned the 9 others that require a % increase. What that is doing is we would then adjust our salary ranges 5% up and look at a contributory plan, like a legacy contributory or a hybrid plan. What that would do for candidates is when they look at our wages, they would see that and they would see a 5% increase. So it would be comparable to the surrounding. For example, Gallatin requires a 5% contribution. So we can either educate our applicants and candidates on, hey, you're going to have to pay 5%, so really the wages are the same. Or we could go the other direction, right? And increase ours by 5%, knowing that that 5% is going to go right back into the retirement. So that's another strategy that I just wanted to throw out there. Just a couple different options, things to consider. I think that's it on the slides, David. Yep. So I know it's a lot of information. I'm also going to do the same presentation tonight in Cliffville as well for BOMA, and I think we'll have some handouts for you so you don't have to purposely take notes, but wanted to see if there were any questions.
Okay, let me just go backward.
Sure.
What did we do 5 years ago when because we have to review this classification every 5 years, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So what was the results 5 years ago?
The only thing that I found in the results is that they did do some adjustments when it came to education pay, but I don't see any adjustments that they did overall as a strategy.
Okay.
The consultants did have some recommendations at that time, but it didn't look like they were adopted.
Well, and for the study, I appreciate you working with local regional cities. That kind of gives us a perspective of what we're dealing with. And I know losing employees is not what we want. And having a revolving door doesn't make any sense. We want to retain the employees. I think that's our goal. And Jesse, you've alluded to that many times. And I think having a strong salary is what we need to recruit new employees. And so what does this look like? I know did we pass the 6% COLA?
Go
So I'm wondering if we could include a 6% COLA for positions that aren't funded yet. Well, I think what I'm getting to is what is the bottom line looking at if we do increase salaries to our bottom line of the budget?
So in the budget that was taken to all the committees, a 6% COLA was included in that budget. So the budget is anticipating a 6% impact. That was not reflected in the pay that was up here. So the pay that was shown here did not include a 6% COLA. Most of these cities also did not have the COLA baked into their pay when we received. So generally speaking, we were comparing our city without a COLA to other cities, except for Gallatin. I think their COLA was already included, but the other cities, I don't know that their COLA was included. I think Franklin did one mid-year.
They did.
So they might not do as big of one potentially when we adopt. But our budget that came to the committees included a 6% COLA. That was not factored.
Did they have Social Security in that plus COLA?
Social Security was 8.7. So we are not going to the Social Security of 8.7. We are down at 2.7 below the Social Security CPI of 8.7. So last year, Social Security was 5.9, and we did a 6% COLA to basically match the Social Security. And this year, the Social Security was 8.7, but 6% was included in the budget.
Gotcha. I got you.
Do you have any questions?
Yes, I do. And how much time we got?
6:40, sir.
20 minutes.
You say it's going to Bowman tonight?
Just the presentation.
Just the presentation.
Right. There's no decisions that have to be made off of
I
this
think just to
tonight.
clear the old boys' fifth grade education, let me ask you. On page 22, these numbers that I'm looking at, is it the higher the number, the better they are?
Yeah, so the higher the number, the more requirements there are for that position.
More requirements.
Yeah, so you see like the top is the fire chief, right? And the police chief. They're at 1973 because of the experience that's required, the contact with the public, accountability, and those types of things. So you see the top level positions are ranked with the most amount of points.
Yeah. That's what I wanted to
If
find
you
out.
look at your organization, it goes just from low to high, just like a deck of cards.
Gotcha. It's all right. It might be a dumb question, but everybody keeps talking about Franklin comparing to Hendersonville. Now, I think everybody went through the market pay exhibit 3. That'd be 27, page 27, I guess. We are actually, we're low compared to Franklin. But you say Franklin, are we talking about the suburbs, the shopping center out there? That is serviced by Franklin too.
So I think it's the city proper we're talking about.
That's right. And the employees of that city, not the retailers who are there, but just the city of Franklin.
I bet you,
So public employers versus private employers?
no.
Okay.
My question is it the huge shopping center, what's the name of it?
Cool Springs.
Cool Springs. That's part of Franklin.
think that's Brentwood.
Is it Brentwood?
I think so.
You ought to know, you work for them. You think it's Brentwood?
I think so.
Okay, I stand corrected, because I thought that was part of Franklin. But everything, when I compare us to Franklin, we're low, we're so low. Am I right in looking at the present pay rate? That's what our fire chief makes, right?
So it pegged the actual pay of our employees. Yes.
That's what that is. All right, you go over to Franklin. Look how much it is.
Mhm.
That's unreal. Police chief. What can we do to be competitive with Franklin?
Pay more.
Yeah.
If you want to be competitive on pay, you have to pay more to be in line. If
Well,
that's
that's why we're losing people, isn't it?
pay is.
They can go to Franklin. Look what they're making.
Yeah, I mean, it's a kind of across the board. A lot of places are losing employees because employees are going and jumping ship and getting paid more elsewhere. It's a method on getting paid more is you leave your organization to go somewhere else to get paid more.
Does Franklin include in that the health plan? Do they pay that like we do?
Yeah.
Yeah, they do.
They probably cover more of the health plan than we do. I would assume. They require a 5% contribution.
Yeah.
So, their take home pay is less 5% where we don't have a deduction. We don't have any reduction for our pension.
Understand.
But Franklin is top tier as far as it goes, as far as salary goes.
I know we're losing police, which I was surprised to hear, to Nashville. Are we seeing that with the fire department as well?
100%. We've gone from 150, 200 people testing with us to 75. By the time we get through testing, they fail out, don't do background checks. We're with a list of 31. And surrounding counties currently are in pay studies, and they're going to increase their pay. Nashville, folks, we have not lost folks in Nashville for 8 years. With the pay that's fixing to happen in Nashville, the pay that's fixing to happen in Gallatin, I think the bleeding's going to start again. June 30th will be 9 people down because of retirements, folks that have left already to go take other jobs with other departments or other career choices. I've got some folks leaving in January. We don't have a recruit class till August. Station 7 is going to open at the end of July, beginning of August, and we're going to have some staffing issues.
Well, employees are our number one asset. Of course, I don't have to tell you that. So, yeah, I think we need to sit down and look how we can go forward with this. We might have to put some capital projects on the back burner.
Absolutely. This is more important to me right now than the discussion we had at capital projects.
It sure is. We can't lose police or fire.
You compare us to Gallatin, we blow them out of water.
And I'm not saying that because the firemen are in the room, but it's paramount that we, and Jesse, I keep going back to you. You said we have to retain our employees. And, we're doing it with IRAs and 401ks and health insurance and pensions. But I think right now we've got to address the salary.
Money, payday.
We don't need to be putting forth money to train employees and then they leave. That doesn't help at all.
It is pathetic.
Well, I would like to recommend that we forward this pay study to BOMA
Amen.
and let us discuss it more.
I agree. I second that motion.
Okay, well, all in favor of passing this on to BOMA, say aye. Aye. That passes unanimously.
Is this gonna be discussed tonight?
Yes, sir.
No be voting, no vote.
No.
Will it come up at the next BOMA meeting?
For vote.
So there's, if BOMA wants to make a motion, right? If BOMA wants to direct staff to act on it in a certain manner, then that will bring that forward with an ordinance. This is a report. So based on the report, if BOMA directs action, then we will follow that action in the form of an ordinance and bring it back.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask you to do that? Can you do that tonight?
Let me talk to the mayor.
Okay.
I would like to, because I'm thinking, we had talked about the 6%
Cola?
COLA. I don't know if that's enough right now. We might need to do more in addition to that. So I don't know, does this need to go to the finance committee or does it go directly to BOMA?
Well, we're doing it as a presentation to BOMA tonight. So
Okay.
it's a presentation here. There's no resolution or ordinance based on that. So it will go as a presentation to BOMA tonight. And then if anything comes out of that, BOMA can direct staff to
Let me ask him a question on the side. Let's say we approve the sales tax that we've been talking about. Will that help us if we can get a referendum to this? No? Won't help us. Not that much, is it?
Well, I think if, there's been some discussion about sales tax, but it's been pegged towards specific purposes like parks, where it's like project based, not salaries and benefits.
And were all of our city positions included in this study?
There's a few that I'm working with Cliff
Right.
to clean up. There's
Okay.
about 2 or 3 that were not on that list that we're making sure get added. But yes, that was the intent, is that all city positions get reviewed. So
So if we follow the recommendations from the consultant, what will that add to the budget? Have we got that far with it?
Yeah. So, I think what you need to do is right now, if we talk about, there's 3 tables that we looked at. Right? So we looked at the general, which is, you can basically think of it as city hall employees and then the administrative for PD and fire. That's basically your general services.
Okay,
Now that was negative 3.45% to the
Right.
mark. Okay. If you do a 6% COLA, you're going to have to guess what other agencies are going to do. But as it stands now, the budget has a 6% COLA in there. I have heard from a couple agencies around where the range on COLAs seems to be around the 2, 3, and 4% mark. Okay. I think Gallatin already did their $1. They did $1 for everyone, which already was included. So say you're going to average a 3% COLA or 4% COLA in the area. Ours is 6%, right? So that takes care of 2 to 3% right there for getting to an arithmetic mean. If you do want to factor on top of that the fact that our take-home pay, because you don't do a pension contribution, also puts us in a more favorable position as far as pay goes. That's the general grade. So the other thing about our general grade when we looked at it is it's an 18-step scale.
Mhm.
Our high end and our mid range is pretty decent. Our low end is where you're going to see, when we look at the actual pay, when we look at the study and we see actual pay, when you see the people who are in the lowest position, they're all in their first, second, or third year, meaning they're at the very low end of our pay scale. And with 18 steps, it takes a while to get to the top.
Takes a long time.
I believe, Mount Juliet is, I heard 3 steps. So they can hit their 3 steps? 5? Okay, so
7.
I heard 3, 5, and 7. So,
I'm glad to show you what the fire
Yeah.
department
The
does.
point-
That's
so-
better than
so
18.
They're lower, right? So all these a lot of other places can get to the mid or the high point a lot faster. We're here, where if you're in the first year, 2, 3 year, 4 years, you're under that average. So, that's a consideration to take. And then when we looked at police, right? So police wasn't in the general grade. Police was judged, and it wasn't actually on our existing pay per. It didn't take like, hey, officer is getting this pay. It said what's the minimum range and what's the maximum range our city pays. What's the minimum and the maximum of the other cities? Now that showed it was negative 10.7% to the market, right? For your officer all the way up to lieutenant. That was the average. And when you did that with fire, it was positive 1.80 or 1.87. So, there's going to be different strategies that you can implement across the board, but there's more to consider. There's a lot of ways you could tackle it. You could tackle it through how you do your salary schedule. You could tackle it through just bumping everyone's salary on the pay tables. You could tackle it through a model where you pay 5% higher and you get on a hybrid plan. So
Okay.
your pay is higher, right? Your advertised pay, so your recruitment's better. And then it's on a hybrid plan where that employee pays 5% too. But at least from a competitive standpoint, your advertised pay is more competitive because a lot of the agencies are advertising a higher pay and then they're requiring that contribution. So we almost put ourselves in a disadvantage because once the employee gets here, we say, oh, by the way, you don't have to contribute, where these other cities you do. So, I mean, there's a strategy you could take to advertise a higher pay too. And I think, most of the times when you're bringing folks on, pay is probably one of the most important things that they're considering. They're not necessarily getting into all the other benefits that come with employment when you're 21 or 22 or 23 or you're younger and you're coming on. Pay is one of those primary
Right.
issues.
All right, well, I appreciate all the work that goes into this. Thank you
You're welcome.
for helping
Thank you, sir,
us
for
with
coming.
this. And thank you for the graphics.
Yeah.
Those were easy to follow. Do you have anything else about the compensation and classification?
I think we'll learn more tonight.
Okay. All right, well, let me move on
Good
to
presentation.
the last item. Is there any other business that we need to discuss? I don't have anything.
I don't have anything.
All right, well, saying that there is none, would you?
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
I second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, our meeting is over at
What time is it?